Hello, everybody. Hello. Dr. Alicia is going to be coming, but I like to always start on time. Does black love have to involve cheating? And I think this is a conversation that will not be primarily focused on the incidents that happened last week. Quick answer and question. No, what's considered cheating? That is literally the first question. Photos by Kay. Like, my first question is, what is cheating? I swear. Like, I don't have to make this up. It's right here on my iPad. It's what is cheating. Like, we need to define it. We need to understand it. We need to unpack it. We need to know what the heck is cheating. First off, hello, Unlimited Faith. How's it going? Dr. Alicia is going to be coming, y'all. She just needed a couple minutes. But hear me out. Tonight, let's go ahead and pack this room in. Invite 2, 3, 4, 5 of your friends. I feel like this is getting a lot of traction, especially on YouTube and other spaces. I'm just excited. Like, this conversation has been going, and we have just been doing a good job by showing up every Tuesday. There are a few naysayers, which is cool. I'm not mad at that at all. YouTube is a different place. I'm not at a place anymore where I read the comments either, especially when it comes to this show, because it's, we don't have to look at the comments. Like, we could just focus on the mission, and the mission is to empower, to show what black love should be, what it could be, and to unpack it. Because it's a lot, if I'm honest. Like, black love is so beautiful. It's so ever-changing. And I think a lot of us want it. We just have to unlearn and relearn and really love ourselves for just like us, especially when it comes to like being black. Like, a lot of us don't like each other. Oh, you already ready to come in, Young Diggy? Come on. Alicia is gonna come, so you can come on up here. I like you, Young Diggy.
What's up?
Hello, how you doing today?
I seen a topic, and it's crazy. I was just talking about this too.
Really.
Man, because in my opinion, cheating, that's taught. That's not what we really supposed to do. That's taught. Because there's people like me that ain't never cheated a day in their life because we was taught loyalty. There's no two different types of loyalty. There's no two different types of love. Everybody got that same love. If you willing to cross this person now that you love, you willing to cross everybody you love because there's no different love.
Ooh, so you basically, and Dr. Alicia's coming up, so you can stay up here, Young Diggy. Like,
Yeah.
you're obviously going to help this conversation. Just, we're starting off with a bang. Let's get Dr. Alicia up here. Let's get her up here. Hello, Dr. Alicia.
Hey.
Guess what? We already have someone ready just to be a part of the conversation. This topic is very, 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 very anticipated across multiple spaces. But before we get in here, how are you doing today, Dr. Alicia?
Busy day today, but I'm doing pretty well.
Okay.
A busy day is good news. How about you? Have you been busy?
Yes, I have been busy, but it's Q4, or we're gearing up for Q4, so I'm expecting it. I'm anticipating it, and to be honest, like, I'm in that flow. Like, I feel like good things are happening all around me, and I have been working out. I've been taking space for me. I feel like our sessions are working, and that my therapy sessions are always working, and I've been waiting to talk about this, and I got my guy Young Diggy on here, and so he just hopped up. He was like, love is love, and loyalty is loyalty, and cheating is taught. And I said, you don't gotta come up in here like that. It's already. So, Dr. Alicia, and Diggy, I'm just gonna open us out, and our first question is gonna be, what is cheating? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, bet. Oh, bet.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, bet.
My name is Jasmine Stitt, aka the Pretty Plug, and I'm here with.
I
Young
am
Diggy. Yeah.
a couple therapist. I deal with cheating a lot in my day to day with couples. All sorts of violations of trust we get into. And you can reach me at coaching.dralicia.com if you need any assistance in your relationship or just in your individual life. I do work with mostly couples, but I also work with families and individuals. And hello, welcome everybody.
Yes, welcome.
Who
And we
else?
have a brave soul. Young Diggy, he said, I'm ready to talk and spread my truth. So, Diggy, can you introduce yourself for today?
Man, I'm Young Diggy. I'm a studio recording artist, also a brand owner too. So, hey, I'm a therapist in a way. In a way, I'm a
Hey,
therapist.
artists, tell us about your music.
Yeah, so like, um, I'm not a regular rapper because I'm not like everybody else. I don't rap about killing, drugs, and all that stuff. I rap about stuff that I've seen and been through, and I'm gonna help you elevate.
Whoa. Okay, that you've seen, all the stuff you've been through. Now wait, how old are you? You don't even look like you're that old enough to be go through stuff.
Bro, please. I hope I didn't.
I'm
I hope.
like,
I'm 20. I'm actually 20, and it's crazy that me, older people, has always been my age group I've been around. I don't like being around people my age because they don't be on the type of mindset I be on.
okay,
I
so you're
always been around
oh,
older people.
that's awesome. So I'm sure you got a lot to say in your 20 years of life in your old soul self.
I actually love
Yeah.
this, right? Because, you know, maybe cheating doesn't take place as much under 20, but like it definitely becomes a part of the topic after 20. So I think this is a perfect conversation. So let me break the ice, everybody. What is cheating? Dr. Alicia, go.
Oh my goodness. Listen, you in a relationship, you see somebody that you really like, someone you really enjoy. The two of you are spending more and more time together. The relationship elevates to a place where you sit and have this conversation about what are we doing. Y'all ever had that what are we doing conversation? Where's this going? What are we doing? And then you know from that conversation, you have an agreement. An agreement could be we'll just be exclusive and just me and you, nobody else. You and then you start to build your relationship around this exclusivity, and you start to have, you start to realize you got to tell the public. Usually that's when you put your picture of your boo up on social media. You could either get engaged during this time. You have a conversation about fidelity. Now, there's some relationships where it's totally open. Okay, I don't know. I don't pass judgment on that. That you can have open relationships, and it can be just as healthy as more traditional relationships. But you have this agreement of trust between the two of you, where you understand that there's fidelity. Now, the problem with cheating is that it's when you break that trust and you step outside of what you agreed you were going to do and you go and have extra affair, and you cross the line in terms of how you communicate with someone. You could have a secret relationship or a secret situation in which that at any point, if your partner found out about what you were doing, that they would be upset about that. So that would be cheating. And I think that cheating doesn't necessarily have to be intercourse. It can also be just anything that you feel like you need to protect. Things that you feel like I don't need to tell him or her, I'm going to hide this from my partner. And there's no reason why, if you're in a nice, loving, safe relationship, why can't you talk to your partner about what you're thinking and how you're feeling? about the relationship and what's going on in a relationship. So in a nutshell, that is what cheating is. It is doing something outside of your relationship where you know that you didn't agree that you would have this type of relationship. So it's basically, it involves lying, it involves deception, it involves leading somewhere, saying something, and or it also involves withholding information, not saying everything. It could be even a white lie. I think white lies are awful in the
It's the
relationship.
little lies. It's the little
Lie.
lies.
It totally chips away at the relationship on some level. And I think what's interesting too with, infidelity is that, the person the victim, I would call them the victim, because the person who's being cheated on, may sense that something's going on. And they may come to someone and say, you know what, is everything okay between us? I get the sense there's something off. Because unless you're like a psychopath, it's really difficult not to, on some level, feel guilty about what you're doing. Knowing that is not what you signed up for, and it's not what the two of you have agreed to do. So that's cheating in a nutshell. So, yeah.
What about you, young Diggy? What's cheating?
She said exactly what I was gonna say. Hey, literally, he said exactly what I was gonna say. It's basically going against what y'all agreed on. Basically,
So one thing that you said, Dr. Alicia, is the conversation on if you have to discuss what are we. I think that's a red flag. Like if you don't know what y'all are, we're already starting off wrong, because if I like you and you like me and we're not able to really discuss that and flesh that out, and we're already doing all the time, and we qualitying and we around each other and we doing stuff for each other, but then I'm confused on my place in your life, that's an answer.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that it's good to have those conversations because you want to make things that are implicit, you would like for it to be explicit. Like, let's explicitly, because you know what? I like having those explicit conversations because I want to know the date. What's the date we finally made a commitment to each other? I like to honor that date. So I like to have conversations about, okay, what date did we become exclusive? So I can say, ooh, this is our 1 month anniversary, 2 months anniversary.
Right. I guess it's like that's when the guy or the girl says, can we be in a relationship? But if y'all haven't, like, I guess, made things official and you're still in that gray zone, that means that are you really being pursued properly? Because in the relationships that I've been in where I felt somewhat, secure, the man was always driving the initiation and the pursuit. Yeah. And I was really clear on if he wanted me. So it's like, I never had to question. I'm like, ooh, I'm not sure if I'm, like, he would always be ready. And it was like, all of us getting on one page, but it's like I think sometimes, and again, this gets back to my greater point, which we talk about cheating. If the man comes into it and he's not really sure, and if the woman comes into it and they're not really sure, how do we get closer to that clarity, and what makes the conversation okay? Like, when is it not okay, and when is it okay to get on good terms? Because that's really like we've been talking for 3 months. I don't know what we are. Is that bad? Or like, oh no, we've been talking for 3 months. I'm ready to have the conversation, and that's good for both genders.
Man, let me tell you something about what I don't know. It could be just, I don't know if this is, maybe young Diggy can enlighten me if I'm wrong, but in my experience with dating, men who are interested in you, they let you know.
Yes, they do.
I think it would never be a mystery if they're interested in you. So if it is a mystery and you're not quite sure, there's your answer. So yes. But men usually initiate that conversation, but it doesn't have to be the man. I mean, it can be the female can initiate that conversation and say, hey, you know what? I got a lot of people that I'm dating around. I got a lot of people I can feel that we're kind of progressing in this area. What's going on? Do I need to cut everybody off? Because I think unless you have that conversation, you should just walk around like you're single, unless you have that
Yeah,
explicit.
because for me, I pick my words precisely because I don't just throw out "I love you" if I don't really love you. I'm not gonna
Mhm.
tell you I love you if I don't love you. So basically, like if I love you, my actions is gonna speak before I even tell you. I'm a type of person that actually speak louder than words. I'm not gonna tell you I love you. My actions gonna show because I'm gonna do everything to show you I love you before I even tell you. So you don't have to question if I love you or not. I'm speaking from
I
experience.
like
I
that.
don't know everybody else. I'm speaking from experience. I don't know what everybody else. It's because
So,
it's
so young Diggy, when you say "I love you" to a partner, is that your way of saying we are exclusive?
oh yeah, because I ain't finna tell you that if I don't feel like I don't.
Ah, okay, all right. Okay. Do you let women know? Or I guess you're heterosexual. I don't want to
For
assume that you,
um
but you let,
um like I have to, like for me. For before I'm even talking to people, I see if the energy is right first before I even think about that word. So one, I'm gonna take like for me, it's the situations for me because you don't know if that person loves you really until a situation comes up to where they have to prove it. So I'll wait until after a situation to see where are if it's like this or it's like this or if it's like this, basically. So it's the situation.
yeah,
So like anybody can
uh-huh.
say I love you and they don't really mean it. So that's why I say you have to wait on the situation to know if y'all really close. Y'all can have a conversation all y'all want to. Conversation can be golden, all that stuff. But when the situation comes and that pressure comes to show if they really love you, they really stick behind you, that's when it's gonna show if the relationship is solid or not.
I love it because I think what you're saying is that you could say that you love somebody all day long, but that love has to be tested. It has to be,
Basically.
it has to be, you have to go through, and I love that because you never know where you stand. You don't even know the person until you go through a situation where you have a conflict and you got to figure out, okay, we have this problem. How are we going to deal with it? Is it be a situation where we dissolve everything and everything kind of falls apart? Or is this conflict going to make us closer together? Because conflict is inevitable and your love is tested with how you deal with conflict. Oh, 1 second. Let me turn my light out. Hold on. Okay.
Oh
My
man.
light came on.
Hey, the ultimate. Hey, I'm not even gonna lie. I see a comment in here that says, "What's the ultimate test?" The ultimate test is when, to me, I'm speaking from experience. How you gonna know if somebody is
He
gonna?
said he be in love in a week.
Man,
Oh,
when I tell you, I had relationships that lasted for 2 weeks. I had relationship. I only had one relationship that lasted close to a year. So I feel that it's cause for me, the test that your female love you is when another dude come around, and it's not when she shows you. It's what she does behind your back is going to show you. Cause anybody can do anything in your face, but then when you turn around, they'll do something else. So it's the love that's behind your back that you don't see is what really matters.
yeah.
Basically,
I mean, I hate to put time limits on things. I think it's nice. I guess it all just depends, but I think it's really nice when two people take it really slow. Why rush it? You know, and when you take things slow, in the meantime, you have to observe. Why are you laughing?
Cause like
Take it slow. What you way rushing
and
in
no,
for?
and I don't think we people mean to rush it. But let's say you've been on a dating app for like
ah,
10 years, 10 years, and finally you found one person, just one, and y'all hit it off and y'all talking every day And man, them first 5 days, you like, I'm done with the app. I'm done. Ain't nobody else out here. You darn near invest in your whole future, your whole mindset. You done already, and I know people do this.
Hey,
So
I
don't
had
try to act like people don't do this, because the real people that know they do this, they be like, I can picture us getting married one day. I can picture us going here. I'm ready to book our flight. I'm ready to spoil you. Because of the way, like, I think COVID did it as well. We've been isolated for so long. So it's just like when you finally do match with somebody, you're like, oh my God, like I gotta go all in. But it's just like you're saying slow down, which I think is really good. But sometimes when them energies be matching, them vibes be vibing, it
I
be
had
like,
both
and
both
then next thing
sides.
you know, you crashing.
I was on both sides, so I felt that. I was on both ends. Like, to be honest, like it's really up to you where you're willing to go. Because there's sometimes relationships start off quick, like boom. Then sometimes you gotta go slow. It matters between it's the bond that y'all make at that point. The bond determines how fast or how slow y'all gonna get to.
Yeah, and
It's
how
also about
vulnerable y'all are.
Let me tell you, there is a lady that I worked with when I first started working as a social worker. I was a therapist at this school, and she was my supervisor, and she was almost retiring. And her husband had been married, I think they were married 40 years. And she said they had known each other 5 months and got married.
yeah.
And that's what I be saying. It's not no time. It's really when you find your person. Like
Yeah.
when you find your person and y'all, I mean y'all in sync, y'all communicate. Like what takes some people 10 years to get right, it can take you 5 minutes. And you just gotta figure out that flow. And sometimes it's a no on that flow, and sometimes it's a go on that flow.
So I think what I'm saying is that you could know someone 5 months, you could know someone 5 years. It's difficult to put a timeline on how much time it takes. And even if you think you know everything about that person, there's always some X factor. There's things you don't know. So
Man.
you make that commitment with someone and you decide to, let's say, get married, you're doing it, you're taking a leap of faith. I mean, there are things you can do to kind of reduce, yes, look at this. Gabrielle said, I knew my husband for 5 months and we got married back in 1992 and they still together. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh
I
my
I mean,
wasn't
gosh.
born. I
it's
wasn't
beautiful.
born.
It happens, but no matter what, you are taking a leap of faith. As a rule of thumb, I say married almost 20 years, 19 years. I still think it's a leap of faith because there's always something that you may not think that you know and haven't thought through fully. But do you know what the one factor that can help get people through help get people through a relationship? So here's one thing that I want to say about longevity in terms of relationships. I think that, I'm watching this show called Married at First Sight, and I think this is like so interesting. And I'll be
Yeah.
watching it tomorrow night because I can't see what happens. Almost decision making time. So anyway, I think that what's been abundantly clear on that show is that it doesn't matter who you're with. It doesn't matter if you have a whole lot in common with that person or if you have nothing in common with that person. And I think the mistake that dating sites such as Harmony and Tinder, like the success rate of Harmony and the success rate of Tinder is no different. The success rate of Married at First Sight compared to regular marriages, there's no difference. Like, I think it's a disservice for shows such as Married at First Sight, Harmony, Tinder, for people to say, you can meet people, we're going to match you up with this person, and it's going to be the best thing in your life. And that's not what predicts longevity. Having something in common with another person, the more you have things in common with them, the more likely
Yeah.
that relationship will last. I think that's a mistake, and I think that's what a lot of us sort of think. The one factor that contributes to longevity in a relationship is the ability to deal with conflict in a peaceful way.
Woo, thank you. I'm not the only one that think that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. That's it. That's the only factor that's held solid. So, you know, if you're happily married for 20 some odd years, I'm almost certain that you can deal with conflict in a way that's helpful. Yes, the divine spirit of God and his spirit has carried me through. Yes, I'm sure she had to rely on that in order to deal with conflict with the person that she's with.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey.
Wait, okay. I'm sorry. I'm distracted. The voice is trying to get in. Do you want to get in this conversation?
Come on, Dr. Boyce. Come on over here. We ain't seen you this month. How's it going over there?
He's distracting me.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, he went to another room. So maybe he's trying to talk in another room. So
Okay.
Here with me. It's
Okay,
there.
maybe don't come up here. Come on, Dr. Boyce. Get on in here. Come talk to us, Dr. Boyce. Yeah, let's
funny.
go.
Spider-Man.
Come on, Dr. Boyce. We need to talk about it. Hi, Dr. Boyce. How's it going?
Going good. How are you?
Doing good. We're talking about, you know, when you have black love, does cheating have to be a part of it?
Damn, you sound like you've been through that.
Oh yeah, I've been cheated on. I've seen a lot, you know, but I'm a little older than you one, so
Hey,
you
I've
know,
been
when you
cheated.
50, you know, seeing stuff you can't even.
So one of the questions that I have next is, you know, why do men cheat?
You were cheated on, young Diggy? What happened? Is there a delay? I think there's a delay.
Man, when I tell you that I've been cheated on.
Diggy, come back out and come back in.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, he's gonna come back in.
It's a delay.
I want him to yeah, it was a delay. But the question that I have next is, why do men cheat? And again, this isn't to say that only men cheat, because women cheat too. And I can ask you that, both of the Dr. Voices. But for Dr. Why do men cheat?
Dr. Boy, okay, then you speak for me. Why do you think men cheat?
I think men cheat. I think young men cheat for different reasons than older men cheat. I think that horniness can play a part in it. Like when guys are young, I just think that like sometimes, you know, they may just get bored with what they have and want to have something extra. Like sometimes just guys want to get greedy with it. I think also, but I think the older you get, the more you realize that that cheating and getting around and doing all that other stuff is even being single and promiscuous can come at a very big cost. Like in our society, you know, like when men, like you look at that Celtics coach, you know, he was sleeping around. And last I checked, he wasn't married or nothing. He supposedly had a fiance, but we don't know what that situation was, right? But look at what he's going through. He done lost everything. You know, he lost his reputation. He'll never get another job in the NBA. So I think that as guys get a little older, they're like, okay, I've been there, done some of that. I don't need to really do all of that. But some guys never grow out of that. Some guys keep it going forever. But I really think that like the reasons may vary. And I think that what women do that I don't agree with is a lot of women will think of this because there's something wrong with you. Like, you know, I'm not enough, or if I'm enough, then I can make him not want to ever cheat. And I don't know, like, or sometimes people say like, well, you're dating Beyonce. Why would you cheat on Beyonce? Maybe, you know, it may just be that Jay just has an appetite, you know, or whatever. If Beyonce may not be enough, one meal may not be enough. He may need 3 or whatever. But I really think women shouldn't internalize it as, okay, there's something wrong with me. But then the reality, though, is sometimes there may be somebody that has something that you ain't got that he wants, you know? So I don't really know if I personally look at it like, as I got older, I stopped worrying about whether or not my partner was cheating. I really started thinking about, like, am I getting what I want from the relationship? Do I? You can tell if a woman loves you just by how she answers the phone, by how she hugs you when you touch her, how she, what she does in the bedroom. So I focus on that, and I don't really, I got past the whole like, oh, I got to find out what you're doing or whatever. That just don't interest me no more.
Man,
Wow.
tell me about it.
What about you, Dr. Alicia? Why do you think women may cheat?
I think women cheat because they feel as if they're not getting the emotional connection in their relationship. I think that's what I've seen common, that they're just tired of the emptiness and the loneliness. They're tired of being taken for granted, and then it leaves them this kind of sense emotionally. I think for women it's more emotional thing for women, that a lot of men will give them a nice compliment and tell them that they're beautiful, and they haven't heard that from their husband in years. And they're just like, you're like, oh my goodness, okay. So it leaves it kind of in a position where they're just craving the intimacy that they feel like they're not getting in their current relationship. I think for men it is, I have to say, but it is more physical for men. Maybe they feel like they're not getting what they need in their relationship more on the physical side, because it is true that men are more visual, and one of the biggest predictor of whether a man is going to cheat on his wife is actually when his wife is pregnant. Like, that's the highest. Those are one of the times. During a pregnancy is one of the most common times where he, or the arrival of a new baby. Because think about it. What's happening is that when a woman is pregnant and she's interested in having this baby, and all the attention is on the baby. The baby is here, and in that process, a lot of women can neglect their husbands in a lot of ways and just focus on this newborn child. I've seen that a lot. And then of course the man is kind of deprived, and he feels hurt and he feels jealous by the lack of attention he's getting. But how do you compete with a baby? You can't compete with a new baby. So you feel kind of bad and kind of like silly asking for attention when your wife is being a mom at this point. And so I think that is the period of time where infidelity will happen for men in relationships. And for women, it's just feeling just no emotional connection, no feeling of love, no compliments, none of those things. And instead of course, going outside of your marriage and your relationship, you should turn toward each other and have those really kind of frank conversations with each other. And if you can't have those conversations, you can reach out to someone like myself, or there's other therapists that you can reach out to, but you can also reach out to me, and I will make your marriage seal. It is almost like putting a coat of a seal protectant around your marriage, so that no side pieces seep in. It's like protecting your marriage. I will help to protect your marriage, or at least conversation, so that you can at least communicate with each other about what you need. Yeah.
Okay, I think both were good. I think the summation, Dr. Boyce was just saying, when it comes to men, they cheat maybe for ego or something, or it has nothing to do with the woman. It's his appetite, like legit is his appetite. When it comes to women, it's emotional. Maybe their attention isn't necessarily on their man. I think my next question, honestly, that comes after this.
I have one.
Yes.
Sorry, I have one more thing to say.
Okay.
I think that cheating can happen because people can get into relationships and have very unrealistic expectations about marriage and commitment and what that means. So I also want to say that, because there's some people who have this sort of philosophy that I shouldn't have to work for love. I shouldn't have to work to be trusted, and a good marriage should be free of conflict. So this sort of unrealistic expectation about marriage and relationships, that's another aspect that can actually lead to infidelity in the relationship. Just thinking that I shouldn't have to tell my partner anything that they're doing that's wrong. I should just accept them for who and what they are, and not have these frank conversations with them about. So it's a kind of like a philosophy of conflict resolution, that you should just bottle it up and not say anything. And so those types of scenarios will lead you to cheating too. And it doesn't matter if you're a male or a female. It's just that sort of mind. So I wanted to put that in. That's something that
To
I
be
see.
honest, like it's
Mhm.
also, to be honest, to me, cheating is a choice. So basically, when you're going through those situations, like say your girl get pregnant, you say that's the most time men cheat is when their girl is pregnant. That's
Mhm.
also a choice because one, when you're going through that pregnancy, you have a choice to stay solid to that one female, or just because you can't do this one thing, you go and cross what y'all agreed on just because you can't get that one thing. To me, that's testing how loyal and basically how strong your loyalty is to that person, in my eyes. Because even if my girl is pregnant and I only love her, I take that love word serious. So even if she is pregnant, even if she do make me mad, if my girl make me mad, that's basically time for me to earn more money. That's separation for me to hustle better. If she's
Oh,
pregnant for those 9 months, them 9 months I'm grinding for that kid.
I
Not
love that.
be,
So this is a way for the both of you to get closer to each other, not to
so
cause
basically
commotion.
like you saying if your relationship is based on material and actions anyway, like just cause if your relationship is based off intercourse or materials, it's not gonna be a good relationship anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
basically to
Look
me,
at you.
like that's just in my opinion. To me, each thing you go through is basically God, if you want to choose, God saying, do you really love this person? We're going to put you this to see if you're going to stick to that one person. We're going to put you through this situation to see if you really love that person.
So it's like
That's
a test.
basically.
Where did you where'd you learn that from? Did you were your parents married when you were growing up?
My mom, so all my brothers have different stories because my mom and them divorced when I was a baby, when I was one. So I never got to see my mom and dad together. And basically, me growing up, the basically I seen the bad and the good. I'm hearing all this from my mom and I'm hearing all this dad. But to me, if that's creating conflict, it shouldn't be there. So that means it wouldn't have worked anyway because if if y'all off on a
Mm.
bad start, something happened for it to be that bad. So I never seen my mom and dad together. So, and all
Mm.
this relationship advice that I'm speaking, it came from experience that I seen from other people. I'm not speaking from what I think or what someone told me. I'm speaking from what I seen and what information I took from the situation I seen other people go through.
I like it.
I just have to say, like, Young Diggy, every time I'm around him, he's like one of my managers, one of my many people that keep me grounded. He's only 20. He's out thinking 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, real talk. And I just be like, oh Lord. Just based off the way he even positions the conversation. And one of the things I wanted to talk to, like, what happens if you're in the relationship and cheating takes place? What are the next steps? Do you go to Facebook and air it out? Do you go to that person and say, "Oh, I'm gonna stick beside you"? Because at the end of the day, the loyalty was that trust was broken. Now it's three instead of two. How do you really take care of matters at home when it's broken? Like, what are the right ways to go about it?
Yeah, I see this a lot with my couples, and when infidelity or cheating has been discovered, my first question to people is just like, okay, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna rededicate yourself to each other and work this out, or are you going to just decide you're just going to dissolve it? Like, that's my very first question. What are you going to do? And so if they want to, and by the way, if cheating happened in the marriage, doesn't mean that the marriage is over. Actually, with a lot of my couples, when cheating has occurred, a lot of times on the other side of that, once you get through all of the sessions and all of the processing, you actually can come on the other end, have a stronger marriage than you had before. So clearly cheating happened because it's a signal that there was something amiss happening in the relationship. It is not, cheating is not a deal breaker. Wait, who put that in there? Is cheating
The
a deal?
vagabond king.
It can be a deal breaker, but it doesn't have to be. And it depends on, first of all, that's the one question that I ask. The second question that I ask is, what's it going to be? Are you going to have an open relationship? Are you going to have an open marriage? Or are you two of you going to be exclusive? So, I ask those two questions is what I ask. And if they want to be exclusive just to each other and they want to recommit themselves to each other, then that's usually the first step in making process to deconstruct everything that's happened in their relationship that led to this, because the hurt partner has questions they need answered. And the person who hurt, the person who did this also needs to provide these answers, needs to help process and figure out why this happened. And I think the couples can recover from this, for sure. Anybody else? What do you think, boy?
I think that in general, well, first off, I would say that if cheating happens, I think it depends on the situation. I think that you got to decide, because remember, there's a difference between being cheated on by somebody you just got with versus being cheated on by somebody you got 3 kids with. I'm a believer that in a family situation, you got a lot of people to think about besides yourself. And as much as, and whether or not people agree with this or not, I'm not sure, but I'll say that all that has to be factored in terms of how you respond. I think people that have simple yes or no answers, like, oh, if I get cheated on, I'm out. I don't think that's the right answer. Because I've been cheated on, and how I responded, depending on the situation. It might depend on, like, first of all, how much do I really want to be with you anyway? If I don't like you,
Are you going to rededicate yourself to each other, or no? Like, this ain't really worth it. I'm out of here.
Yeah. And the second part might be like, okay, what's the situation? Like, are y'all in love? Was this a one night stand, a one time mistake? Like, what's the scenario? So I think it'd be different. Like, if you went on a girls trip and did what you wasn't supposed to do, versus like you just slept with my best friend and the next door neighbor, or you slept with my sibling or something. You know what I mean? Some ratchet ass shit like that. So I feel like if it's like ridiculously complex, it says something about the person who did whatever they did. It maybe it speaks to either lack of discipline, lack of commitment, lack of thinking. Like, for all I know, you could be out here catching STDs, bringing diseases home. So I think it really should depend on. Like, I don't think anybody. What you say?
I said, in a lack of respect for your partner and your partner's feelings.
I don't think any mature person ever has a simple yes or no answer on, the whole cheating question. It should always be like, it depends. And then, so then if you decide you really want to do it, that means you're going to have to do the work. It's going to really mess with your ego, especially us men. Like, we just, our egos get in the way, thinking about somebody else with your girl, and, and you start imagining all the stuff, whatever, and it's hard. But then I think in that process, unfortunately, I think you can learn, not unfortunately, but you can learn what love really looks like. I think love has to grow beyond just the sexual, like I own you sex. I think love is deeper than that. So, but I think you definitely have to do the work, and I recommend getting counseling for anybody that goes through something like that if you have a relationship you want to save.
That's good. So do men really look at it like, I own you sexually? And like when you be with somebody else, they like, he owns you sexually? Like, it's that type of like ownership on the P?
Yeah, but before me there were none, after me there will be no more. That's how that's how they think, and I mean, you get a little older, you grow past that, but I mean, when I was younger, I couldn't, in any relationship I ever had, I could not imagine that woman with another man. Just the thought of it would just drive me crazy, and I think men are just naturally territorial, like the same way dogs pee around trees and all that. Like, that's what we do, and it's not, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I think women have their own type of territorialism too. You know, I think we all kind of do it.
I think some people, I don't know, I've seen, because I feel like at this point I've seen it all and heard it all. I have heard some people say they just walk around with this philosophy where what my partner doesn't know won't hurt them. Like they have this sort of attitude, like as long as they don't know what's going on, then I guess it doesn't matter. I've seen people have another type of philosophy where they're just like, I have one life to live. I deserve to be as happy as possible. Let me just manage all of this so that I can just have fun the rest of my life. Tell her one thing and go and do something different. Like I've seen people, if you run across anybody that has that kind of attitude, just know like that sort of attitude, they just don't care. And there are some people who have like no impulse control, you know. You know, those are people I think are more likely to cheat. And I've also heard, talk about things that I've heard. I've also heard people say stuff like, I never promised my partner that I was going to be perfect. I'm always going to make mistakes. So instead of promising that they're going to do what they can to protect their partner's feelings, they're going to try to not have to, you know, get defensive and say, well, I never promised I would be perfect. You want me to be perfect. You know, like cheating means that they're going to be, that it takes perfection in order for them, you know, to stay faithful to their partner. So I don't know. That's sort of the themes that I hear. And when you hear, and that's why I think that it's so important to take things slow when you're in a relationship, because when you start to hear these themes come out, and when you're with somebody and they start to feel that, you start realizing they don't have any impulse control. You start realizing that they're inconsistent in a lot of ways in their life and inconsistent with you. Those are the people who are probably more likely to cheat, because you're like, wait, I don't know what's going on with you. Are you this? Are you that? What's happening? When you're always having a question mark in your head and things seem to be elusive all the time, you never get a concrete answer from the guy. Ladies, beware. You know, that's the type of man that you can't trust. So trust, you know, it gets into trustworthiness, you know. So yeah, so that's part of it.
I have
Well,
another.
one thing I would say to, you know, in general, about guys, I watched a Chris Rock movie where there was one quote where the guy said that you can always lose money chasing women, but you'll never lose women chasing money. And this doesn't relate necessarily to cheating, but it does relate to when you're young, spending all your time just constantly chasing women. That's draining, expensive. You get put into a lot of situationships that can go bad. I think black men have to be real careful, because you can be falsely accused of assault and go to jail. They'll put you in jail for that just because somebody said it. So, you know, and my belief is if you date around and you messing around with enough people, you're going to eventually run into a crazy one. And, you know, I watched my best friend go through that in college. I watched him get falsely accused of sexual assault. And I wasn't sure if he was innocent or not, because I've never been in the bedroom when he was having sex. But he was my friend. I wanted to believe him, but I need evidence. You know, that's how I am. And the reason I know that he didn't do it is because it turned out that she had falsely accused 3 other men the same year. And so when they found out, they let him out. But here's what happened. When she made the accusation, they went to his job, put him in handcuffs, he had to drop out of school. He had $3,000 saved in the bank. He had to spend all his money paying for a lawyer, and he spent 3 weeks in jail and didn't even get to take one shower the whole time he was in jail. And, you know, and he couldn't believe that he was going through all this, and there was no proof, you know, and he was not black. He was white. My buddy in college was a white boy. So if they did that to a white boy, imagine what they do to a black man. So I think that, just generally speaking, I think men have to be careful, number one. Number two, you know, all that time and money spent chasing women, it keeps you from achieving your goals. You know, you're like a drug addict chasing a drug. You know, I think if you're going to get addicted to something that's going to be healthy for you and good for you. It doesn't mean you can't live your life and enjoy your life, but there's a point where you're kind of overdosing. And, you know, and you overdose. The next thing you know, that's all you are. All you are is the guy who got 8 babies mamas, no money in the bank, your health is bad, your situations are terrible, nobody wants to be around you. You get about 30, 31, 32, 33 years old, your life is a complete mess. So just be smart and strategic, you know. And so what I would say is, like, to me, the best way to approach it is, but if you're a young guy who is working hard to set your goals and accomplish your goals, good women will pursue you. You know, a smart woman will identify you, and you'll have an opportunity to experience the very best that love has to offer. But you won't be doing it in a sloppy kind of way.
Yeah, boys, let me respond to you. Okay, so one thing that I've noticed that you talk about quite a bit, and I don't know if you mind if I ask you, because it's a burning question that I've always had for you, boys. I'd like you to answer.
Baby, you ask me anything you want.
Okay. I've noticed that there's this sort of belief in you that women use sex to manipulate men, or they use the ability to accuse. It's my word against your word. You know, it's all of these scenarios that I noticed that you tend to kind of like really be affected by, and you talk about it quite a bit. You've been talking about it for years now, about how men are victimized by women. That's a theme that I've noticed in a lot of your conversations. And it makes me feel like you come from this sort of perspective where men have to be careful because women are harmful. And could you talk a little more about that? Because that's something that I'm starting to think, that you have this sort of belief that men are oftentimes victimized by women. And that's something, could you speak about that? Because I've noticed this recently.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? I don't believe women are harmful. I believe bad women are harmful. I believe good women are wonderful. And I know that in this world, I don't believe this myth that all women are good, or that all women are honest, or that all women are going to want the best for you. I believe that there are women out here that are not well psychologically, who may take their issues out on, on men, or whoever happens to be standing in their path. And I've just seen too much in terms of things I've seen happen to my friends for me to ignore all that. But I do not believe women as a collective are harmful. I just have to be mindful of that. So I think it's no different from women. Women cannot assume every man wants the best for you. You can't assume every man's going to tell you the truth. You can't assume every man, no man you ever meet is going to be a rapist. There are rapists out there. And when you go on a date, just in case, you tell your girlfriend where you're going. You make sure you keep your mace in your purse, and $20 so you can get home in case he's a raggedy fool to put you out the car. You just prepare yourself. You just protect yourself. So that's what so you are right. I don't want to present too much of a bias in the sense that I sound like I believe the majority of women think this way. No, I think it is a tiny, tiny minority. But let me tell you, little fat baby, that little minority will fuck you up. I've just seen stuff. I heard stories about. Think about it. Cardi B spent the whole game out when she was talking about how they use date rape drugs to take advantage of men who thought they, because they threw a couple dollars in the club, they can go get some ass. That to me is something I want to tell other black men about, because I think we're falsely led to believe that women are always innocent and sweet and can't hurt us, and that's just not true. That's not the world I come from.
Okay, so thanks for clearing that up for me, because I've always found that, in a lot of your discussions, you speak heavily about that. And the reason why I just asked, because I just want to know where you were coming from, because I think it seems to me like it's almost like a beware, like be cautious, be concerned, be aware, it's like always having this sort of mindset where if you get involved with a woman, you got to really be careful, because you never know what'll happen. Something awful can happen. Like, I just find that to be like a theme in you. And I think that's, understandable, but it's just something that I'm just always been curious about, because, as a therapist, I'm always dealing with real victims. Like, I've had in my office, my virtual space, many women who were actually victims and men who were victims, right? And but much more so women who are victims, and most of them never say anything. They never come out and speak. They go through what they went through, and there was no one there who believed them, who took them seriously, who heard what they had to say, and they just walked away feeling defeated and traumatized. And so as a therapist, it's just interesting, you know, to hear what you have to say, because on this end where I'm speaking from is, you know, I'm speaking with a lot of people who are scared because they think that because they were a victim, that they somehow deserved it. They feel like if I hadn't done this, then none of this would have happened to me. And so what I'm seeing a lot in my office is that a lot of people who were victimized, they internalize it and think there was something wrong with them. And so that's why I wanted to ask you about that. I do think it happens, you know, like you say, that you should be aware. But at the same time, I've seen people go through some horrific things. They never spoke up. They never said anything about it because they felt like no one would believe them. They would get backlash. They don't have the proper proof. And it can be very hurtful. And they can spend a lot of time paying me money to try to sort all that out. So anyway, a lot of time and energy and all of that. But I just wanted to say, you know, I think we need to find somewhat of a balance to talk about these conversations in a way that's uplifting to actual victims, and also point to the finger to what you were saying, where people are being falsely accused of things. But if you got a whole slew of people saying he raped
Right.
me, he raped me, he raped me, you know, after a while, you got to be like, what's
Yeah,
going
I wasn't. Let me just say this.
on?
I wasn't. When I talk to men, I'm not really talking. I'm not at all encouraging, you know, the rapists, and I'm not at all in any way trying to disparage any real victims. I think about it like this. You know, I kind of grew up in a world where I believe truly in the equality with men and women, in the sense that I never grew up in a world where women were beneath men and all of the other stuff that people talk
Right.
about. I don't know anything about that. So, you know, when I think about the things I might say to a woman about protecting herself from men, I think the same way about men protecting themselves from women that might be harmful. I think about, let's use a Cardi B example. You know, Cardi B went on Instagram and said that they used to drug and rape and rob men and all this other stuff. And so if, let's say a man came to me and he went through something like that. Obviously, he's traumatized. He was clearly a victim. He didn't deserve to have that happen to him. He's probably not going to report it to the police because he's too embarrassed. What would I say to that man? Well, the
Yeah.
same thing I would say to that man is the same thing I would say to any woman. I would say to him, I would say, yeah, man, you got to be careful.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
I would say, hold on, I would say, look, bro, you know, I understand this shouldn't have happened to you. This was wrong. But when you go into the strip club, just know you got some predators that are in that audience. You have, just to use that example, again, this is an extreme case. Most women are not strippers. Most women are not predators, but it does happen, right? So what I would say, generally speaking, is I believe that for men, if sex is your weakness, smart women will identify that. And the ones who are harmful to you, the harmful ones, are going to use that against you. Whether it's to get your money or to get you into a bad situation or whatever. I've just seen it happen too many times. So I think that we can talk about that and still acknowledge that, you know, a victim is a victim. You know, I'm not saying that. I mean, this has nothing to do with, like, this is not in me at all saying, oh, all the women who say that they was raped, they're all making it up, they lying. No, I'm not saying that. I'm talking about the liars. I'm not talking about the ones who tell the truth. I'm talking about the liars. And in fact, the liars make it harder for the ones who tell the truth. That's why part of the reason that the real victims can't speak up all the time is because people lump them in with the people who take advantage and will tell any lie just to get money or public support or whatever. So to me, if I'm a victim of a crime, I'm not just gonna, I'm sure the predator is the main person who's responsible, but also I'm looking at those people who didn't go through what I went through, who are lying and manipulating the system, as people that are making it harder for people like me who might have actually been victimized. So don't, I don't think we have to conflate the two. I don't think that me warning men to be careful is in any way me saying, oh yeah, women that act like they got raped, they all lying. I've never said that. I would never say that.
Okay, yeah, I know you don't, but the thing is that the first thing I would say to somebody, if something actually happened to them, the first thing I would say to them is, you didn't deserve that. Like, what happened to you? It doesn't matter what outfit you had on. It doesn't matter what strip club you were in. It doesn't matter what you were doing or any of those things. The very first thing I would say to somebody who was actually a victim is, you did not deserve that. Period. It don't matter. You know, it doesn't matter where you are or what it is. I think initially, maybe on the flip end, on the backside, you would say, maybe you shouldn't go out at night. But in that moment, they don't need to hear that. In that moment, I think they really need to hear, it's not your fault and you should not have had that happen to you. So that's the only thing I would add in there. And I want to make sure that we can't, you know, it's not fair just because someone is accused. And you know, I've been in situations where I've had friends of mine accused of things and I know they didn't do, and rightfully, I've been, Boyce, I've been in that, and it's a terrible thing to go through, to be falsely accused of something. But I really enjoy the fact that due process was done. You know, I like that due process. Yes, it could have been better, but I do want due process. We're not going to say we did it. We're not going to say it didn't happen. We're going to investigate. And so I think, like, my position with the issue with the Celtics, the coach of the Celtics team, is that it sounds as if, and I don't know for sure, but it seemed like they want to, it sounds as if they're going to get lawyers involved to investigate this and make sure due process was done. And when they made the decision to, suspend him for a year, the coach or whatever, for a year, I kind of think that perhaps that was just what happened at the end of the investigation. Now, could they have handled it better? Definitely so. This is definitely a high profile situation, but I would hope that, the conclusion that they came to meant that he knew what he was doing. He knew it was wrong. They make them sign they make them sign things to say you cannot have these types of relationships in a professional setting. And if you do, here's the process that you go through in order to have relationships.
Let me jump in a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the situation with Ime Udoka, I think that you're right. That I think most people feel that he put himself in a bad situation. He agreed to some rules. He broke the rules. There's a price to be paid for that. He also did some things that were just stupid. Like, if you're sleeping with the vice president's wife, there's going to be a consequence for that. Everybody, understands that. I think that what people are concerned about that I'm hearing is that there wasn't dual accountability. That, people engage in consensual sex and you're punishing the man but not punishing the woman. That's just a little bit weird. Mm-hmm. And so I think that to me is the part that people are really having the big issue with, because remember, Nia Long's name is all over the media. Ime Udoka's name is all over the media. But this lady, for some reason, they feel like telling her name would be a violation of victims' rights and everything else. She wasn't no victim or nothing. She chose to sleep with this man. And,
they said it was consensual. Like, they
right.
made it clear. So somehow I think at this point, since it's all out, they really do need to come up with an explanation about what happened. Since it was consensual, then it couldn't have been anything that he didn't overstep his boundaries, in that way, like force himself on her in that way. So I don't know. I think they need to let us know what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that he, what he did was stupid. It just, I think most guys agree at this point that I talk to that you just don't need to sleep with people you're working with. It's not a business move, but at the same time, it's like, it's interesting because it kind of defies human nature. That most studies will show you that people that are close together, that are working together like that all the time, they become attracted, male and female. It ain't just the men, the men ain't having sex by themselves. They usually have a woman. And now what's interesting is, like, with the Celtics, they have a unique history. I remember a specific player from Kentucky named Winston Bennett, who went up and became an assistant coach at the Celtics. And he was actually on ESPN because he said, I have a sex addiction. And he said he was sleeping with 90 women a month. Now, so Winston, actually, from what people have stated, I got to double check on this, but I think he got removed from the Celtics in a sexual situation that involved some other people in the organization, kind of holding around a bit. So I'm really wondering if that situation with Ime Udoka is like where they rules after dealing with that stuff with Winston and a couple other people in the past. So I think the Celtics might just be a little bit different because I really didn't understand why he got suspended for a whole year, even if it was the vice president's wife. But still, it was just messy and stupid and crazy. And I think people don't talk about is there are probably a lot of athletes who form sex addictions because you're on the road as an athlete. You're having all these beautiful women that want to sleep with you constantly. And it's interesting to me because I met a young lady not too long ago who told me she was Wilt Chamberlain's granddaughter because her grandma slept with Wilt, and she was one of the 25,000 that he said he slept with. He said he slept with 25,000 women, and it's crazy because I said, well, did you reach out to his family? She said, oh, they don't care because he got so many grandkids, and kids and grandkids don't even matter. So I think that men, unfortunately, in sports, when they become famous and get a little bit of money, they get too many opportunities, and some of those men overindulge, and it just kind of creates like a chaotic situation.
Could I say something, y'all?
Yeah, go ahead.
Like this has been such a good conversation, and one thing I think is lost in the narrative, and when I read it, the woman that he slept with was married, and he was engaged. And right now I have the pleasure of being on a call with two married people. I want to understand what is the purpose of marriage and how long should one actually wait once they've been engaged to go ahead and get married.
You want to go first, babe?
Well, those long drawn out engagements usually don't end in marriage. Like, why not get married to each other? And I think it's okay. Like, if you want to just be engaged for the rest of your life, that's fine. You want to be in limbo. I mean, after a while, people going to stop asking, when's the wedding? I've had people in my family that's been engaged for many years, and they're just fine with it, So, I think it's a bad sign when the engagement is going on for 6 years. And I think I heard Nia Long talk about how she's not even interested in getting married. So I don't know what that really is about. I can't imagine. I'm just putting myself in the position of a man who wants to marry a woman, and the woman is saying, I'm not really interested. I'll be engaged to you, but I'm not really interested in getting married. Like, I don't know what much of a big blow that is to someone. It's almost like, yeah, I'll marry you, and then, but let's hold off on things. It's like you're in this limbo. Like, why not just make that commitment? If assuming he asked her to marry him, which it sounds like he did, why take so long? So I can't even imagine. Boys, how would you feel if you had wanted to marry me, and I'm like, let's be engaged forever? How would you feel? Would you be like, lady, you gonna marry me?
I wouldn't be engaged with you. I mean, I'd just date you. I mean, I didn't get married because I was dying to get married. I got married because I wanted to marry you. And that's it. Like, I wanted to marry you. I'd had opportunities to be married before. I chose not to. My personal reason for wanting to pick you as my wife was I told myself that when I got to a certain point in my life, and if I met a woman where I knew that I could not replace that woman in a million years, like I'd never meet another woman as great as that woman. That's the one I'm gonna lock in. That's the situation I gotta stick with. So you were one of a kind. If I had not married you, I probably still wouldn't be married. I ain't gonna lie.
Would you be like Nick Cannon, having kids all over the place? Would you be
That's gonna be a topic.
No. I think Nick is creating a lot of headaches for himself. You talking about what's it? Eight babies, mamas. They gonna be fighting. It's gonna be he better have some good.
They don't know about each other too, because I listen to the podcast. They be like, "Oh, I got on Instagram and I saw he had another kid." Like, the communication isn't there with the polygamy. There, it's not there.
Yeah. I think that's. I mean, I don't knock it. I don't care what people do with their life, as long as, to me, only time I get a little bit, I take it personal is like if you're hurting children. Like if you're hurting kids.
Well, I mean, well, what is he doing with these kids that he's having all of these children? How can he give these children everything that they need from a father, from
Well,
the same father?
I mean, he can't.
Give guidance, all of that.
I don't think. I think. Well, I think financially, it seems like he's got enough of that to pass around. But
You know, children don't.
right, the time and the emotional support a father typically gives, that's just not going to be there. So I think that it depends on what type of culture you look at. I knew people that grew up at a time where fathers just didn't even spend much time with the kids. The mothers took care of the kids, and the fathers would bring home the bacon, and that was it. I don't think that, obviously, that does not fit a modern era. That does not fit 2022. But that's a model people have used. There,
We're getting better. I think we're getting better now.
Yeah, I think that we're adjusting for sure, and I personally do agree that like having more time with your father is a good thing. But I will also say, when I grew up as a kid, my father didn't have a lot of time to spend with me because he was working a lot, and I don't know if I felt like that. Oh my God, I'm being cheated. But at the same time, though, you are right, though. I think him spending time with me, a lot more time with me, would have been better, right? So I would say that Nick choosing to build his family the way he's built it does not automatically mean he's a terrible father, but it does mean that he can't be the best father that he could be, because I think being the best father you could be does mean spending time with the kids. I don't really see how Nick's going to really pull that off.
He ain't going to pull it. No way. You can't be in all these different places at once, and their birthdays are all together. Like, how can you gonna meet? He'd have to, his whole life to be around, going around, traveling around, and connecting with these children. I don't know how you can maintain a decent connection with any of these kids. I think there's something deeper going on with Nick Cannon, and I wish him the best. Anyway.
Yeah, it's freedom, right? And I think if we're talking about freedom, women's freedom to do whatever they want, men gonna have freedom too.
Yeah, but there's consequences. Talking about the consequences.
There are consequences. There's consequences to all of that. Like, we can have that conversation about any personal freedom anybody embraces. You could talk about abortion, and we could talk about that all day. I'm not even going to bring that in as a debate topic because I respect everybody's point of view.
No matter what's happening, there's consequences to the decisions that you make. And if you are not aware of what's motivating you to come to that decision, why are you having all these kids to fill up what are these kids filling up for you? It's insatiable. It's like, what is it doing for him? And that would be a question that he would need. And Nick Cannon's father, right? Do you have his number? I wish we could talk to him.
Oh, I don't. I mean, his dad called me one time. I forgot. We talked for a while, and he did most of the talking. And he seemed like a smart guy. He's very pro-black. But I haven't talked to him since. I don't even know if I got his phone number. But I've never met Nick. No.
Mm-hmm.
What you say, man? Go ahead.
It's about what he thinks about his son's decisions.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wish him the best. I mean, I guess it's as long as you don't. To me, as long as you know the trade-offs of the choices you make, I'm usually going to support you. As long as you're not really hurting anybody in the process. Because I think everybody's got to make their own decision. I've said the best advice I would give anybody is figure out who you are and what's going to make you happy, but also understand that part of you being happy means considering the happiness of the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of pursue your own happiness all the time in a vacuum like you're by yourself. You got other people that are affected by the choices you make. And we have power. As a father, I have power to affect the lives of the people in this house. As a mother, you have power to affect people. And so we make our choices. You have to pursue your happiness, and I think you should have the courage to do that. Don't let other people tell you how to live your life or how to live your relationship. For example, when I married you and I got on one knee and I felt the emotion I felt when I proposed to you because I was so happy about it. I had a lot of stupid men that had dumb things to say. Not a lot, but a few. Little punk ass men.
I think I see some of them in the chat. Welcome.
Yeah. I mean,
the haters are so real.
What you say?
The haters are so real.
Yeah, but I don't care. I don't give a shit. Like, just keep hating. I hope one day the happiness that I'm feeling right now, because at the end of the day, it's like, fuck you. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm just not living my life for nobody else, And I think people that worry too much about what other people think, that's how you end up in a trap. You end up in a trap. You know, your life becomes a product of what other people want for you as opposed to what you want for yourself, because you never took the time to get to know yourself well enough to even know what you want, and you don't have the courage to pursue it. You know, and then if you want to be unhappy, live that life. You know, live for your niggas, live for your girls, live for your, you know what I mean? Seriously, like, live for other people, and then you will see what true unhappiness looks like, because other people's advice will put you in a damn ditch. It will put your whole life in a terrible situation. So have the courage to pursue what matters to you. Consider other people in the process. Be a good person. Work hard. Don't be scared, and you're going to be successful. That's my 2 cents.
Oh, that takes courage. Whew.
It does. And I think, you know, we came to this show tonight really trying to figure out, like, does Black love have to involve cheating? And one of the questions from the audience, he was just like, what's the difference between in a relationship and being married if at the end of the day, if either way you choose, you know, what's the difference? Like, what is the big difference between being a committed relationship and being married? And I think y'all are a beautiful couple to go ahead and answer that question.
Yeah, marriage is illegal. Marriage is illegal. We're talking about marriage. It's a legal commitment, and it's a public commitment. It's something where, like, you know, boys can travel around the world. Everybody knows that's him. You know, he is my husband. Everywhere I go, people know that I'm married to him. So it's a public legal confirmation to say we are together, you know. And so, you know, for a lot of people, marriage means a lot in that way. It's, I'm his first of kin. Anything happens to boys, they're going to call me first and ask me what to do. I will never tell them to pull the plug. Something happens to me, Boyce is my first of kin. So it's a legal setup. You know, I wouldn't, you know, I would be, you know, I trust him with all of my decisions, you know, and things that I need and things that taking care of things with the kids and everything. I trust him to be there for me legally. You know, after we build all the things we're building together, boys. So that's it in terms of what marriage is. And now also marriage is just a state of mind. You know, a lot of us are just married. A lot of us are married to things, divorce. Divorce. But anyway, go boys.
Well, I think that piece that you mentioned about the legal side of marriage, that people don't understand. I don't care how many times somebody calls you wifey, you ain't a wife. You're a wife-like substance, but you're not a wife. And I'm not making fun of people that are in that category. I would just say, if that's what you want, you have to find a partnership with somebody who also wants the same thing, who gets that. Because a lot of people will waste your time. And I don't know if I sound like a sexist pig for saying this, but women don't have the same amount of time to wait as men do. You just don't. But from a biological standpoint, so a guy will start dating you at 29. He will date you for 5 years, promising you the world and never deliver, and then drop you off at 34, 35, right at that prime. Not that that's a bad age. There are beautiful women at 35, 40, 45. I'm not saying that you're not still popping and attractive and all this other. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that if you go to the doctor at 37 and say, what's the condition of my eggs? He's going to say, you can still do it, but your eggs ain't what they were when you were 28. That's just a fact. So in my view, I think being real clear about what you want and being real clear about what the other person expects from the relationship is critical, especially for women, because men we kind of have all the time in the world. That's not right, but that's just what it is. And I think so. To go to Alicia's point about the legal side of things, the fact that she's my wife means that she can, if I get sick and go to the hospital, they're going to respect her position in my life. I heard from somebody recently who was complaining because she could not get into, she had, I know it was a family struggle, big family struggle that happened. Let me make sure I can get it right. Where the father was a 52-year-old player who had a 32-year-old girlfriend. He drops dead, Kevin Samuel style. You know, he has a heart attack out of the blue, a stroke, that's what it was. He had a stroke, died of a stroke. She then is in a dilemma because he was living with his girlfriend and his mama. But because of the situation, his daughter inherited everything.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
the daughter is right now in court, right now in a legal battle, because the mother and the girlfriend are like, oh my God, he died. What are we going to do? So
Mm-hmm.
one of the things they did was they stole his password. They somehow found the way to get into his phone, and they took $30,000 out of his bank account because suddenly they were in survival mode. Like, our provider is dead and we have no legal rights right now. So now the daughter is backpedaling, going to the banks,
They
going to the
get that money back. Yep.
and they're putting all that money back, and somebody might actually go to jail.
Yep.
You know,
That's
and,
healing.
Yep. Right. And to me, what happened was in that relationship, this is a true story. This is real. A friend was telling me this the other day. That's why I got to remember the details of it. But basically, he said that during the relationship, the girlfriend always said, I want to get married. Like, yeah, oh, sure, I'll marry you. I'll marry you. I'll marry you. Kind of just delay. And then he dies, and she literally has nothing. So ultimately, marriage ain't just about love. It is about the legality. It's preserving and protecting your rights. In this society, you get more rights, more respect, more privilege when you are a married couple than you do when you just boyfriend and girlfriend. A boy is a child, a girl is a little girl. Boyfriend, girlfriend, when you 40, 30, 40 something years old, no, that's not the same as husband and wife. That's just the reality. And I wanted to be a grown man, so I got me a wife.
But you know,
I don't want a girlfriend.
I don't know. It did something psychologically when we got married. I just felt, not that I always felt secure with you, boy. I don't know if people know, but Boyce is like, he really is the sweetest guy ever. Like, he really
Have
is.
y'all told y'all's love story? Y'all probably have,
No.
but my audience may not have heard it.
Anyway.
I don't know, people might make fun of our love story. The whole people on the internet speculated that I had that they said either she had friend zoned me for 20 something years or that I was just blowing her off. It depends on who you ask when people just make stuff up. But we were just friends for a really long time. And when I first met her, I ain't gonna lie, I was so intimidated by how pretty she was. I just didn't really make my known. So I sat there and, you know, I saw her date a couple guys or whatever. She wasn't getting around. Alicia was never a woman like lots.
Let me tell this real story. Boyce was the one dating. I had no boyfriend. I met you. You know it's true. I would call him and be like, who you dating now? Who's your girlfriend now? What's going on now? I never had no boyfriend. Nobody. I had no boyfriend. Nothing. I had nothing.
She is totally lying.
I
All
was
those NBA players that used to hit on you. Come on now. Anyway, long story short, we were friends for a really long time. And what really does help our marriage is our friendship. Because our friendship is what we can lean on when we get on each other's nerves. You know, I just really, you know, I think the honest to God truth is, you know, it is a lot of work living with a person and seeing the person all the time, every day. And sometimes you get on each other's nerves. And so the fact that we have a friendship means that I can just default to the friendship, you know, when I'm not necessarily feeling like a husband in that particular moment, you know. So I think marrying your friend is a good strategy, in my opinion.
We do. I think we do spend a lot of time together. I kind of enjoy it, though.
I enjoy it, too.
It gets to be too much. You can tell me to go away. I won't feel sad about it. I will.
How y'all learn to survive through the pandemic? Because a lot of relationships probably did not survive. Like, how did y'all learn to make it work in these circumstances?
COVID? Oh, my gosh. Did you ask about COVID? Was that what you said?
Yes. Basically, How did y'all make it through that?
COVID was a dream come true, man. It made me spend all my time in the house with you. I really do. I did. Looking back, okay, there were some moments where I think we got on each other's nerves, honestly. But I think, like, you're just fun. Like, boy, at the end of it all, it's like Boyce is just a lot of fun to be around. I don't know if people hang out with him a lot, but you're fun. Like, I cannot wait. As soon as we get off this call, we're probably going to sit and watch some TV show and have fun together, like we always do.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think surviving during the pandemic was it helps that my wife is trained in the skills of relationship therapy, because she knows how to, she understands that, and everybody's got issues, and that's why I'm a big believer in therapy and stuff like that. But she understands, like, my issues. I was traumatized a lot as a kid. She showed me a trauma test called the ACEs scale, and I took the test, and I was pretty high on the scale because I've been traumatized. What people don't know is, first of all, most black people are very traumatized. And then two, when you're traumatized, you can be easily triggered, or you just have these like hard, fast rules in terms of how you deal with stuff because you're used to being like in a tough environment all the time. And that doesn't work so well in relationships that require a lot of trust, a lot of vulnerability, a lot of things that, where I come from, you just don't want to be vulnerable that often. It's very hard to do. So, so I learned a lot by kind of listening to her. And she's listened to me as well. And it's a journey, it's a process. And I would say to anybody that gets married, pick somebody that's also as thoughtful about these things as you are, that's willing to kind of learn the tools and the skills to get along. Most people don't realize that most arguments can be resolved if you know the right skill set, the right tools to resolve it. Like sometimes we think that we have an irreconcilable difference. Like, I'm just mad at you. Ain't no way we can get around this. We just too far apart. But there are ways to actually negotiate and work it out so that you don't end up parting ways with each other and cutting each other off. So it takes a lot of work. I ain't gonna lie. It's definitely a lot of work, but it's worth it because I enjoy being a father and a husband. I enjoy not having to be out in the street. And also remember, I'm not 30 years old. I'm way past that. And I knew that when I got to certain stages of my life, I really didn't want to be, I'm gonna tell you, again, invoke the name of Kevin Samuels. I respect the guy. He was a smart guy in a lot of ways. He also, in fact, when he talked about me on his show, he defended me. So I'm never gonna really diss him like that. I'm just not gonna do it. But when the way Kevin went out was exactly like, I think the greatest fear of any man over 40 should have. People don't realize, like, when you get older, you get more vulnerable. You get in a situation where you need to think about who's going to be your backup in case something goes wrong in your life. And a good wife is a good backup. And I got the best wife. My wife is a great nurturer. And I know for a fact that if I'm up in the hospital and I'm sick, which I have been, I've been in the hospital. I've been in, not in comas, but been put unconscious. And she always made sure I was good. You got to have that. At least I believe that. That's my 2 cents.
Dang, y'all just be preaching. Like, one thing I love about this, like, I grew up, my parents divorced when I was 7 years old, and it was like, even to this day, they don't really talk to each other. So it's just like, to see two people that know how to articulate their feelings, like watching Dr. Alicia be vulnerable and be like, I just love having fun with you, babe. Like, that's why. And then also Dr. Boyce, you coming over here, you reaffirming her, like, I wanted you. That's why I married you. Like, it's certain things that we as young people in our generation, Black people, we don't see two people loving each other out loud. It's like unheard of. And if they do it, you may, like, you could get all these different names or whatever, but to be honest, like, this is y'all's love. And for us to witness it out loud on today's Black Love series, I think this was the most powerful. Like, yes, we talked about other people and maybe how they have experienced trauma and how their relationships may not be going the way they wanted. But I think if we saw more of this, people just articulating their different points of views, because there was a moment in here where y'all saw things completely differently, but that didn't mean y'all's gonna raise y'all voice. That didn't mean that y'all like, I hate you, why you don't think like me? Y'all just talked through it. And I think that was the most powerful, that y'all just talked through it. And I don't know how many Black people, I'm gonna just raise my hand, have seen older people that say they love each other talk through, just have a conversation to talk through it. That's what I take away from tonight. I'm gonna talk through it, baby. I'm gonna talk.
I've enjoyed that. I think I'm telling you, everybody in here is at some point. If you're not in love with somebody now, you're gonna fall in love at some point, and you're gonna have somebody in your life where you don't ever want them to go. And what I would encourage you to do is protect that relationship the same way you protect your car insurance or whatever. You got to protect it by taking the time to learn the tools and skills for conflict resolution. There are tips out there that therapists, like Alicia's really good at this type of stuff. There are just ways to handle conflict. So it's not about whether or not you disagree. Everybody's going to disagree. Me and my wife disagree about 3-4 times a day. You know, it's not whether you disagree, it's how you handle it. You know, and unfortunately, when you get caught up in this culture out here, part of the culture that's just real confrontational, those people don't have good relationships. You know, well, I get called, you know, I've had men call me a simp because I love my wife. Well, I'm not gonna listen to that, you know. But then I've seen women who love black men. I think they call them pick me's or something like that.
Yeah.
If you support black men, you're called a pick me. Well, the people who are saying that are not your friends. Those are some lonely, miserable, single women who just mad because their daddy abandoned them or something. I don't know what's going on, but they need their therapist. You need to learn to ignore that. Again, happiness is not one size fits all. Happiness is an individual thing that you got to pursue for yourself, and you got to pursue it without listening to all these crazy people on the internet. Because I'm telling you, they will give you advice that will ruin everything you have good in your life. And in order to keep, I think, a relationship going with somebody you care about, you have to learn humility. And there's not a lot of humility going around. You know, so that's what I would say is my biggest takeaway. And this is the last thing I'll say, and then I'm done. But it's like I learned from my father that being married definitely requires you as a man to be humble. You can't just always be chest thumping and be like, I'm this and I'm that, and it's gonna be my way or the highway and all that. That might work for pimps, you know, that until they get stabbed by one of the women they work with. That might work for, you know, that might work for single crazy men or whatever, or bad or toxic people, but that doesn't work in a marriage. And even if you are like a chest thumping man and you're a very proud man, which I am, I admit, I'm a little proud. You know, I like to be a strong black man, but I know that in my marriage and then with my family, I got to bring a different attitude that's going to preserve the relationship, because nobody will test your ego or whatever more than like kids. Kids will just do it to you where you just like, okay, I want to strangle you right now because you're not listening to me and you 15, you know, but you have to think about the long game. Like, okay, I got to figure out how to make this thing work, and I can't just handle it the way I might handle some idiot, out in the streets or whatever. I got to handle it in a way that I'm handling somebody who lives right in the space that I live, because we're gonna have a lot of interactions, and you have to be able to do that in a way that is that brings some humility to the table. So I saw my father, who was an extremely proud man. I saw him submitting consistently to my mother. I saw my mother submitting consistently to my father. The feminists would have hated my mother, and a lot of men would have called my daddy a simp. But my daddy wasn't a punk. He's killed people. My father I can literally say my father has killed people. Right? He was a cop. He was a Vietnam veteran, all these things. And I saw him be tough with other men and in other situations. But when it came to my mother, he was always very gentle and very considerate, because that was his prize. That family was the most important thing in his life. And he didn't approach that the same way he approached everything else. So humility is necessary. If you can't be humble, then don't try to get married. And if the person you're marrying to can't be humble, then don't marry that person. Pick somebody else.
Wow.
But you are serious. That's all I'm gonna say.
She testing me. I'll let you get the last word, babe. I'm done. I'm done yapping for tonight.
Anything else, Jasmine? We're over.
Dr. Alicia, she was only supposed to stay for 45 minutes. But when her husband joined, I said, it'll be okay. I think they'll be okay. You all, when it comes to cheating, and when it comes to Black love, and when it comes to really honoring yourself and what it is that you want for your life, I think Dr. Boyce said, if you follow other people, you're going to always be miserable. And Dr. Alicia, her main takeaways was, when it comes to your love, making sure that you heal your traumas, go and get therapy. Make sure if somebody violates, like I love when she used the word violate, because it's like violating, right? When somebody violates your trust, it's not the end of the relationship. Everything is somewhat salvageable, but you really have to be able to come together. And I think both of them tonight really proved that we can talk through anything. We can have different perspectives, and y'all should go check out Dr. Alicia for coaching. And of course, Dr. Boyce is always on his social medias talking his talk. So that's all I have to say. We just want to continue to have Black love.
Yeah, and I hope everybody listening from my channel will follow both of these ladies. So please feel free to, I hope everybody will do that. We got to support each other. And Jasmine, Jazz,
Wait,
we
on your you're live on your channel? Is that's why all the people
I
came in?
I guess so. I guess when another person comes in, their followers get alerted and stuff. But yeah, so I want to share that because Jazz, I tell you, when we met Jasmine, it's Jasmine, right? That's it.
Yeah, it's Jasmine. Some people call me Jazz, whatever you want to call it, Jasmine.
Yeah, well, when we first met you, Jazz, we were real impressed with your energy, and we think you have a great spirit. And so I just want to say that out loud, and I hope everybody listening will give you a follow because this young lady's gonna be something special. And super.
Thank you so much. Y'all gonna make me cry.
Uh,
Thank y'all, honestly. Yes, y'all have a beautiful night, and everybody, if you didn't catch the replay, you'll go to Dr. Boyce's YouTube page so that y'all can catch the entire show. So talk to y'all next Tuesday.
all right, bye bye.
Bye bye.